just came off court testing this Yonex Aerus Z2 badminton shoe. It's ultra lightweight, it's speedy, it comes in at 274 grams per foot in my size, 44.5 in Europe, or 285 millimeters. It's about 27% lighter than the super popular Yonex 65 Z3 that Victor Axelsen plays in and a lot of other pro players use. The question is, all the things they had to strip away to make it so light, does it make it worth it for us recreational players? As usual, I've had the shoe on court for 10 hours during games and drills, and this is an unsponsored review. I bought the shoe with my own money. I'm asking from Beast Badminton. Let's dive in. So if we start with the heel, let me show you what it looks like first. This is where it's the most cushioned. Some heels on badminton shoes are too low and it feels like your foot is going to slip up and out of the heel. So that is not an issue here. The heel blends being slightly stiff and slightly cushioned. Compared to other top range Yonex models, it's less stiff and feels more cushioned, and it creates a nice fit where your heel feels tucked in. The tighter fit at the heel allows for a more loose fit at the front of the shoe. It still feels like my toes have too much room to move sideways. So it works pretty well, but it's not my favorite. But the feeling in the heel on the shoe is pretty good. Next, let's move on to the upper area and the sides. Looking at the sides first, it feels like there's very little room between the sides and your feet inside. It creates this very snug fit. In fact, the fit is one of the areas where this shoe really shines. If the fit would be really poor in this shoe, the lack of padding would also expose that more. So the fit on the sides and the upper here feels nice. Now the tongue is where it gets really exciting. Let me show you here. Notice how wide the tongue is. I don't know if you can see it better here. But basically this is the widest tongue I've seen in a badminton shoe, and that's awesome because it means it doesn't slide down to the side like I, for example, experienced with the Yonex Comfort Z3, which is super annoying because it tweaks the fit around your ankle and the upper bit. If it moves down to the side, it feels like you have to retie it to get that snug fit at the top. And so the fact that it's so wide that it doesn't really move feels really nice. The shoelaces, similar to what I've had with other Yonex models, they seem normal, but somehow they feel kind of difficult to tie really tightly, and it feels like they're gonna go loose after a while. I don't know if this is an illusion on my part, but it does feel like I have to retie them or like, just fix them regularly, even during games between rallies, which is definitely annoying. Next, let's look at the toe box. So as you know, the toe box helps when we are late to the shuttle, we have to do deep lunges and our toes get pushed against the front of the shoe. This often happens at the front court, and so for us recreational players that doesn't have perfect technique, it's usually very nice to have a bit of padding so that your feet doesn't get busted. And this will be one of the shortest comments about the toe box because there is little to no padding at the front, at the upper and at the bottom. It just feels stiff and raw and rough. Next, let's look at the midsole, shock absorption, cushioning, and the insole. When it comes to the midsole, in terms of shock absorption, comfort, cushioning, we're getting little to none in this Aerus Z2. I'm assuming it's been stripped away to make the shoe even lighter, but I do feel fatigued after playing in the shoe. Even after an hour on court, I notice it in my legs, in my feet, and this is not something that I normally feel. So if comfort is important to you, I would pick a different shoe. The midsole feels really bare bones. You're not gonna get much help at all. Now let's move on to the insole. So the insole, if we start from the back here, has some ventilation holes for breathability, which is nice, but that's also about the only nice thing that I can say about this insole. This is very basic insole on a flagship badminton shoe with no wavy patterns to help with sliding, and I found myself sliding a lot inside the shoe, which is not exactly confidence inspiring. So the insole, I don't like it. Next, let's move on to the outsole and the outer grip on the Aerus Z2. So the Aerus Z2 has the radial blade sole grip from Yonex, which is the one they put on all their top range badminton shoes, and it's awesome. It's the best grip that I've found from any of the badminton shoe brands that I've tested. It's super gluey, it's super grippy. Other than that, not much to say about the outsole of this shoe. So the durability is super hard for me to test as it takes months and months. So I have a few clues that I look at to get a sense of how quickly it's deteriorating. And so the first one is a launch tear, which happens on the inside of the shoe on your non-racket foot as we're performing lunges, and we're using the non-racket foot to break, and it grinds against the floor. You can even see here that it has some padding here to protect this, which is common for flagship badminton shoes. And so the launch tear is this bit here. Compared to all the other shoes I've tested, this looks reasonable somewhere in the middle. Now I just noticed at the top here, the padding seems to be coming loose. You can see it here. And that's concerning after just 10 hours. But for now, it's just something to keep in mind. Next, we have the outsole tear, which also happens on the non-racket foot as we're moving around the court. And it's usually right here on the side. And it's very easy to notice. Now on this shoe, it's perfect. There's no tear, so that's a thumbs up. Next, I noticed something I haven't seen on any other badminton shoes before. It looks like there's some miscoloring happening here at the top of the shoe, kind of orangey, and here as well. And the strange thing about it is that it happens on both shoes all over the top, which doesn't touch the floor. So since I'm careful about keeping these shoes tidy and I don't let them get wet, I don't put them outside, I have no clue why they should be here. My best guess is that it's sweat causing this miscoloring. Now the final thing that I want to point out in terms of durability is this weird crumbling thingy that's going on here. I have no clue where it comes from, but I'm confident that the shoe has not been in touch with any water or anything else except for like very minor basic sweat on the court. It doesn't affect the performance, but it came halfway through testing after just a few hours. So again, just something to keep in mind. Overall, the durability where it matters seems to be good, but there are some surprising areas that are cause for concern. Let's start with a summary of this Aerus Z2. The heel is good, it's slightly stiff, slightly cushioned, pretty good balance. The fit at the top here, great. The tongue, awesome. The outsole, awesome. The insole, less good. The toe box, very minimal padding. The midsole and the comfort and cushioning underneath your feet, very minimal as well. I imagine it's been stripped away to make this shoe ultra lightweight, which you immediately feel when you're wearing it, especially when you feel tired at the end of difficult games, between rallies or during longer sessions. Now, I just came off a 2-hour session on court and I feel super fatigued in my calves, in my knees, in my toes and underneath my feet. And I usually never feel sore or fatigued after playing. It's very distracting, and I was playing yesterday as well. So today I felt fatigued when I went on court, which felt distracting. And even though you recover energy more easily in this shoe than more bulkier options between rallies, the fatigue that I feel is distracting enough that it seems to be cancelling each other out and ultimately not really helping that much. I've noticed that while I've been testing this shoe, I found myself playing fewer games during my sessions and taking longer breaks to feel less tired in a particular area of my leg or my foot. I feel a huge difference compared to a more comfortable shoe, and it's not in a good way. But for what this shoe is trying to do, being ultra lightweight, being fast, it's doing a good job. The question is just, who is it for? Is it for us recreational players that value longevity and playing more games more often and for a longer time just to have fun? If that's what it comes down to, I would pick a different shoe in a different category, especially because this one is super expensive. It costs at least as much as other way more comfortable flagship badminton shoes. So unless you have a really good reason to choose a shoe like this that is very lightweight with little padding, I wouldn't go for it. If you're at all in doubt, I wouldn't go for it. The only player that I see relevant for this shoe is potentially women or players with a smaller frame and fewer kilos to strain their legs and knees. If you're interested in ratings and comparison against other shoes, I have all of that in the text review on the blog. I'll leave a link below. I'm Asker from Beast Badminton. I'll see you in the next one.